What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Insurrection Inc. podcast. We want to thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show.
All right, and welcome to the Technical Shit Show podcast. We're here with me, Jay, Monty, Porter, and Stratty. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hola.
Pretty good.
You forgot Craig.
Fuck Craig.
He
Craig is
never
a piece
says
of
anything
shit.
anyways.
Craig is the
Craig
bot
can
for
eat a
people
dick.
listening and confused.
No, Craig is not a bot. Craig is a real person. He's sitting in the channel and he's listening to us. Okay.
Hey, Craig, you want to say something?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of retarded.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Pussy.
Okay. So, where the fuck do we start? I am so lost after this shit.
I'll go ahead and say what I was going to say because I was starting on that.
Yeah. Okay.
So I meant to address this on the second episode, but I completely forgot. So better late than never. But Kobe Bryant passed away recently, and I know probably most of y'all don't really care about basketball, but there's no denying that every single one of y'all know Kobe's name and who he is.
Yeah.
See, and I grew up, I love basketball, and I grew up playing it, so it was kind of shocking for me. And there's not that many times where someone popular passes away, and it literally makes you it fucks up your day. You know what I mean? That's probably one of the few times that's ever happened to me, because I remember when that happened, my friend texted me, whatever I was doing, I just couldn't do it all day. And there's just one thing that it made me think of. And it's you know how you hear people saying don't meet your heroes and all that?
Yeah.
Fuck that
Yeah, of course.
bullshit. If you can really go out and meet your heroes, because what it got me thinking is I'm lucky as fuck to have met Ron Paul and Lou Rockwell before, knock on wood, they pass away. And even if they were assholes to me, so be it. Their impact still means a lot to me, and I think people need to take that for what it is. So that's just kind of a thing I wanted to get out there, rest in peace, Kobe. But to everyone hearing this, go get with your loved ones. Let them know how much they mean to you. Go cement your legacy and go meet your heroes.
Wait,
go live
to be
your life.
clear-
So were they a-holes to you?
Hell
Yeah.
no, hell no.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was just making sure.
Okay, let me get it. I'll tell the story real quick.
Stratty's flexing.
Yeah, Lou Rockwell was beyond nice. Holy hell, Lou Rockwell was so nice to me and my girlfriend.
Flexing again.
We walked up to him, and of course, I was a little red in the face because love the dude, and I just I let him know how much how his book kind of changed my whole perspective on everything, and then I told him about the student group I run here in New Mexico, and we got to talking. He just asked me if I'd be in Auburn this next summer, and I told him I damn sure would try my best, and that was about it. But he was super nice. And then I didn't get to talk to Ron Paul much, but super nice. Very attentive whenever he was talking to me, and both guys cared what they had to say, cared what I had to say. And then I tell you, the best conversation though was Jeff Deist for sure. Jeff
You met
Deist.
Jeff Deist too? Fucking hell.
I mean, he was, yeah. He was, it was cool because he actually recognized my name and who I was named after, which is Playboy Bunny. But we had a good conversation.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. But we had a good conversation about that. He was pretty funny. All of them were pretty down to earth. So that was really cool. But that's one of the best days of my life was.
Yeah,
meeting all
Stratty, you
them.
want to help slide me a recommendation letter to Mises U?
For
Yeah.
sure.
Get me in contact with one of the big boys.
We'll talk after this.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, Stratty, I'm going to be catching up with you, meeting all these big names at Mises U this summer.
For sure, dude. I still haven't heard back from my scholarship, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, I don't think either of us will know until after
April.
the deadline in April.
Yeah, I texted one of the guys that I know that went last year on scholarship, and he said that too.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Oh, so they actually have a structure, unlike my university.
Yeah, your university just sends it to you whenever, when they feel like it,
Yeah, it took them about a month to give me my scholarship money. That was fun. God, I hate my school so much. And 3.5 years in, I learned that if you have scholarships coming, you actually don't have to pay up front. After 3.5 years of paying up front. So I was literally going.
They probably figured you could just live off of usury or something for those couple of months.
I was going for a month on like $20 in my bank account, so that was fun.
Or whatever your family makes money off of.
Not usury. I wish we made money off usury. I'll make more.
All right. So
anyway, yeah.
Topics for today.
Really am jealous. We're gonna start with collapsitarianism because that's a pretty big, just talking point for the last 2 or so years. I mean, a lot of people just feel like shit is hopeless. So, let's start a civil war. Let's watch it collapse. That's great.
Well,
Libertarians have to support war. It's really what I think when I think libertarians.
Well, we should back up a little bit, I think, and define collapsitarianism, and then maybe separate them into different groups, because there definitely are different groups.
In 2020, if you don't know what a collapsitarian is, stop.
Well, here's what I think of when I think collapsitarian. I think of someone that is just kind of welcoming the currency collapse, the economic collapse, the collapse of the American dollar, so then everything goes to hell and all the institutions crash and all that, which I think has terrible consequences. But that's what I think of when I think collapsitarian. I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the camps. That's the camp I used to think of, but now I think more of the Boogaloo Boys and all the people that are calling for revolution now because there's no other way to reform.
That's an interesting point, because I hadn't actually considered them to be in the same group. I kind of considered.
Yeah, me neither.
I consider the Boogalicionists to be kind of their own form of libertarian, and collapsitarians to be a different sect.
I mean, think of it. It is just the Boogaloo Boys are sort of a subset of collapsitarians.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think that's true.
It's revolutionary. That's not.
I think a lot of the Boogaloo guys are. Whenever we said in the first episode, those guys that are not well read, I think a lot of the Boogaloo guys are not well read, and they're just trying to trying to have a footing in the libertarian world without really knowing what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, because most of them are 11 years old.
Exactly.
Hey, some of them are 12.
Oh, 12 and a half.
Hey, some of them are former veterans that will never tell you where they were stationed, what their name is, all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And it's what do you have to
true.
be afraid of if you're no, there's some Boogaloo guys, though, that I really do like and I think are genuine.
Yeah, I think they're genuine but misguided.
Yep.
Is Whiskey and Rebellion a Boogaloo boy?
Sometimes I can't tell because he's pretty well read.
He's definitely a collapsitarian, but I don't know if he falls into the more aggressive camp or the passive camp. I absolutely know that he'll, use force to defend himself if everything goes to shit. But he doesn't really seem like the type to be cheering on
violence.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it depends on his mood.
That's probably true. He'd probably say the same thing.
Oh my god!
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. New rule, Monty, stop sending shit while we're in the middle of recording. God damn it.
Monty,
it's the third time you fucking do that. Jesus Christ. Oh man, as if this episode wasn't off to a bad start enough already. Oh god. After seeing that, I want to collapse.
He left and started a call. Yo,
why'd you send me another call?
I did not.
Get down! I'm gonna screenshot this and send it later. God dang it! Because you did too.
What?
Oh man, this is gonna
Stratty,
be
are you running? Stratty, are you running Discord off of Internet Explorer?
I'm running it off literally a laptop and a phone right now because I'm trying to get this as fucking clear as possible.
Okay, where did we leave off?
All right.
Whiskey and Rebellion.
Whiskey and Rebellion.
So I guess there are two types. There are two types of collapsitarians. Then there's the aggressive and the passive type.
There's 3 types, and then there's the preppers.
Okay, yeah. See, that's what I've always thought of as collapsitarian, though. I always mostly just thought about the preppers,
So wait, let's outline them let's name them off. So the first type is the financial collapsitarians, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, or I mean, it's not even just specifically financial collapsitarians, but the people that are welcoming on any type of collapse. There's a lot of them see the financial system as bound for a collapse, so they're trying to speed it up.
Right, they think that's most likely.
Yeah.
But...
So those are the accelerationists.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the Boogaloo Boys, who they don't want an economic collapse or anything like that. They want to bring the collapse of the system through revolution. And then you have the preppers.
What they believe would also happen to destroy everything, but...
Oh, yeah. It would be terrible, absolutely horrible system.
Okay, so
And
before we go on to number 3, here's the thing. I don't think the Boogaloo Boys are smart enough to understand that an economic collapse will literally bring about what they want, pretty much. You know what I mean?
No, they're not, because if you've noticed, not a lot of them are well read.
Would even an economic collapse do that?
I think an economic collapse, like we were talking about in
maybe
the
part of the
agorism
countries
episode,
could be able to get out of it, but
yeah, I think that an economic collapse would weaken the federal government enough for individual groups to start leaving.
we'll have to see.
Yeah, and then there's the preppers, who they may or may not be accelerationists, but regardless, even if they welcome it or not, they see the end coming and they want to be prepared. They're sort of a neutral position.
See, I most identify with the preppers as someone who calls themselves an agorist and is especially focused on studying entrepreneurial economics. I like reading about counter institutions and how they form, and building alternative infrastructure to the state and stuff like that. And that's kind of what preppers do. It's not necessarily entrepreneurial, but they're setting the groundwork to become entrepreneurial once a collapse happens, and then they have to fill other people's needs, and they can do so for their own benefit. I think there will be kind of an underground trade that develops, assuming there's not too much violence in a collapse. So that's kind of the sect of collapsitarianism that interests me the most.
See, but that underground trade, it already exists. Look at the deep web.
Oh, I don't disagree. Yeah, I know.
It does.
Oh, you're just saying on a higher level, more out in the open.
Yeah, I'm saying I think that what they're doing now, underground, will become the above ground replacement if everything else collapses and burns down around it.
Shit, I hope so.
Yeah, I also relate to those people, not even just relate to the counter economics part, but because I do believe it is good to be prepped no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Because that collapse can even be a temporary collapse. I mean, look at after a nasty tornado or hurricane, where shit is, you're off the grid involuntarily for a few weeks. I mean, look at after Katrina, where people were waiting on FEMA because they didn't prepare enough, and FEMA took over a week to get there with even just water. Mm-hmm. Look at Puerto Rico, where it's still fucked. I mean, they're recovering, but they're still fucked from that hurricane 2 years ago. So anything can happen, and I understand
the National Guard did take guns. They confiscated guns
I mean, look at
Puerto Rico or Louisiana.
Louisiana. Katrina.
Katrina.
They sent in the Oklahoma National Guard or something.
And one thing that people don't understand with Katrina was we always hear this talk about FEMA camps and how that's never going to happen. That's literally a real example where you can point at and say this happened. People were forced out of their homes, forced into these camps for their well-being by the federal government. And what did that do for them?
Nothing.
Yeah. I mean, what prosperity came from that?
Yeah. And I mean, you had cops busting down old ladies' houses to get their guns. There's a video of this. And it's just fucking crazy.
I've seen that, yeah. The National Guard going door to door.
Not the National Guard, local police. To anybody that says that the police will not take your guns, they did it. They do it. They've done it. They'll keep doing it. I mean, even in a natural disaster, I mean, it's not just people you have to worry about. After Katrina in New Orleans, there were literally packs of hungry, dangerous dogs roaming the streets and attacking people. You need a gun on you in that situation. I mean, in Florida, if there's a state of emergency declared, I can walk out on the street with a rifle on me, no problem.
So to go back to the economic collapse question, this makes it even more urgent why every American should own a gun, because if the economic collapse happens, that's just not going to affect one region like Katrina did Louisiana. That's going to affect the whole country. And when that collapse happens, exactly, because when that collapse happens, you're going to have all these other countries that are going to start marching up into America saying, pay up.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
And
you need guns. You need crypto.
yeah.
Buy Monero.
Or gold. Hell, even then, just gold.
Not
Something...
gold. In a situation like that, you want silver coins because those are the most fungible.
Just anything that has any kind of value to it that is not backed by nothing.
The dollar is backed by the full faith and trust of the United States government. What do you mean it's backed by nothing? Come on. Come on.
It's backed by blowing up brown kids in the Middle East.
Yeah, but I mean, really, at the bare bones minimum, just at least some kind of commodity that you could trade. Have something of value.
Yeah, I agree. And this is the thing. This is where I agree with the preppers. Because I don't want a collapse to happen, but at some point it is bound to happen. And you need to be prepared for this shit. You need something to trade, even if it's cigarettes. Do you know how valuable cigarettes become as a currency in a situation like that?
Look at prisons. In prisons, cigarettes are literally currencies.
Did you guys ever see that Onion video about the cigarette
exactly
market?
What I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's like a pack of cigarettes is now 2 hand jobs.
I forget who it was, but there's someone that has like a good chapter in their book, and they literally do like an economic study of cigarettes as a currency in a prison.
Yeah,
and I thought that was
it's not from a book. It's an article by an economist who became a prisoner of war in World War II, and he details like how cigarettes became a commodity currency in the war camps.
Okay.
And
I just knew I heard about that.
Yeah, I'll link it in the show notes page because that is one of my favorite pieces ever.
Yeah,
cool.
Carl Minger actually in the first chapter of Principles of Economics uses tobacco production as an example to illustrate what laws govern economic goods. It's kind of interesting. So it's always been a big thing.
Yeah,
and this, children, is why you should smoke cigarettes. Start young, 5 years old.
I know for sure Lou Rockwell has an article out there trying to talk about like how economics is just natural, like, you know, trade is natural, and he used the example of cigarettes in prison as an example of that.
Yeah, it is just you see it happen spontaneously. It is something that you can't avoid. So you have to be prepped for these situations because there will be these little markets that arise in the disturbance. So medicine, precious metals, cryptocurrency, if there's still electricity. But if there's not, you could do a whole episode talking about like cold storage and notes and all that shit. But so bullets, medicine, cigarettes, fucking precious metals. These are all very important to have, not just for yourself, but because of what they can get you in an emergency situation like that.
So I have one question because, like, you know, I'm still learning about crypto and all that.
Yeah.
So if
you come to the right place.
Yeah. If a collapse did happen, and say we had no access to internet, any kind of World Wide Web, how would we access our crypto?
Like okay. Yeah. I can take this one entirely. We have time for this. I can make it really quick. So basically, the way that the blockchain works is that you need peer-to-peer connection in order to transfer cryptocurrency. But actual cryptocurrency is stored in your hardware wallet. So whether if it's on your desktop, if it's on your laptop, even if you have like a little hardware bridge wallet, like a Trezor, it is there. It is physically there in your computer. So one of the first things you need, a solar powered charging panel. You can buy those off Amazon, like $50. They're great. They'll do the job for you. The next thing is, there's this device called the Gotenna Mesh, which it basically creates a relay peer-to-peer network within a mile radius. And it works with radio, it's rechargeable, and if you have 2 people using it, it creates a temporary network between the 2 of you. So if you have 2 people that have it, and it's in a collapse, and you have a solar charger, and you have your technology with you, and you have your crypto on hand, you can use that Gotenna Mesh to create a temporary network for the both of you to transfer that cryptocurrency.
Okay, so from what I understand, here's what you're saying. So say like we're in a little marketplace and we're both within a mile of each other and we run into each other and we decide, say I want to buy something off you. So are you basically saying like we set up our fucking setup, like the solar panels and shit, and then we pull out our laptops and we just make a little deal that way, exchange that away?
Or a little bit more simple. It could be, I have a marketplace, I own 2 bridges, I own a few of those solar power charging banks, and I have them charged. Then all that needs to happen is you need to plug into one of those, you need to connect to that Gotenna Mesh, and then we have a network between us. Simple as.
Okay, so I'm not denying that I think could work, and I think that is a good idea. Now, here's my last question on it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's practical in terms of everyone's going to pick up on it? Because, like, people like me, even though I am open to the idea, I'm very ignorant to what cryptocurrency is, so I'm kind of turned off by it in that regard. You know what I mean? So,
as it stands now, no, it is not practical. Because simply, in a collapse, you are unlikely to run into another person who has cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
Now, let's say we lived in New Hampshire, where there are a lot of towns that are almost entirely on cryptocurrency, and you are likely to meet someone there in your community that you know has cryptocurrency, and he knows you have cryptocurrency, and you two want to make a trade, then it is practical. But because the user adoption is not as high as it would be with something like silver coins, where it's fungible, it's right there in your hand, and you can trade it no problem. Somebody's going to accept it no problem. They don't have to set up a special wallet. They don't have to do anything extra. Then that's more practical. So yes, a silver coin, I'm not saying like, oh, only invest in one and don't invest in the other. Have silver coins on you, have cigarettes on you, have medicine on you, have bullets on you, have things that you can make the trades with. But I just think it's a really interesting use case if you had enough people who are using cryptocurrency in a collapse like that, where you can use those devices and you can get that going and you can keep using cryptocurrency even after a crash.
Got you.
All right, so now that we've talked about kind of what the Collapsitarians get right, at least the prepper sect of them, and what the Boogalicianists get wrong.
So wait, it's number 1, the financial, number 2, the Boogaloo, and number 3, the preppers?
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
And really, financial can cover all, like the other two, because there are Boogaloo boys who think like it'll start because of a financial collapse. Most of them seem to think that someone's going to kick it off just out of sheer willpower.
Boogaloo implied.
Some of them are slightly more realistic than that, at least. And then a lot of the preppers,
some very few.
A lot of the preppers think it's going to happen through the financial system. So, are there any other ways y'all think it could happen?
Oh, I mean, in a world of infinite possibilities, there are so many things that could happen.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna get onto theoretical stuff, dude, we could be here all day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think those are just like the realistic ones, where like
those are the 3 that come to mind.
Yeah, economic collapse, something like a full gun ban happening, and you are inevitably gonna have somebody shooting in that, and with tensions as high as it is. I could see guerrilla groups forming in that scenario. I don't support it, but I can see it. And then the last one is also just realistic, like you're prepping no matter what.
Yeah.
So I think those are the 3 likely outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
And really, like, the third, like the preppers, you probably, like you can make an argument that they're not really collapsitarians. Like, it's just they're there just in case,
Yeah, that's why I say that they're like neutral collapsitarians, because they're really on the back burner about it. It's just like, this shit is bound to happen. I don't want it to, but I'm going to be able to provide for my family or myself if it does.
And and not exactly all preppers are anarchists or libertarians even.
No, not even close.
Yeah.
All of them are just like regular old conservatives.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that think that they just have to hold out until FEMA comes. How about you, Monty? What do you got to say about collapsitarians? yeah. Or you're waiting on FEMA?
I guess I'm ready for my re-education.
Monty, you haven't spoken in a while. What do you think about the?
I don't got anything to say right now.
So, before we move off the topic of collapsitarians, there's one more thing I wanted to talk about, which is how likely are they to be right? I found a super interesting article a long time ago. This is like a year ago when I first read it, called "The Surprisingly Solid Mathematical Case of the Tinfoil Hat Gun Prepper," which is a long title, but it's this guy he's a stormwater hydrologist, which basically just means he estimates the chance that there's going to be a catastrophic flood in places. Is the oversimplified version of saying that. So, but he does all like the probability calculations of disasters, and so his logic's actually really easy to follow. In one part, he says so the average colony establishment date in the United States, or like North America, obviously it wasn't the United States back then, was the year 1678. And he wrote this in 2018, so now it's 2020. But at the time,
thanks for observation.
Yeah, genius. Yeah, it is current year. Yeah,
You don't say.
yeah. So at the time, that was a 340-year sample size for him, and there were two revolutionary events, two events that qualified as revolutionary or maybe a collapse, something like that. That was the American Revolution and the Civil War, obviously. So that means the chance of revolutionary event is 2 over 340, or 0.005882, which is a little over 0.5%, basically. If the average lifespan is 78.7 years, which is still pretty much correct, I think, then basically the probability of a revolutionary event happening is 1 minus that 0.5% to the 78.7th power. And that's just like basic statistical like probability math. If you look up the article, you can see the math he does specifically. But basically, it comes out with doing that simple math, a 63% chance of no revolution in the average adult lifetime, and a 37% chance of revolution in the average adult lifetime, which is significantly higher than I think most people account for in like their day-to-day lives.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. You kind of blew me away with all that.
Okay, number one, I just took an econometrics test today, so thank you for fucking me up the ass again with being triggered by that shit. Number two, I fucking hate statistics. I think it's the art of lying with numbers and not really lying.
I'm going to tell my stats professor that.
Do it. Number three, I do think that you are inevitably bound for a collapse. You know, every empire falls, and that is just fact. So it's a matter of when it falls. And I think that's been a flaw of a lot of people who subscribe to the Austrian school, is that they constantly try to predict a collapse. I mean, you know, going back to Ron Paul.
Peter Schiff's been doing it since the last collapse.
Yeah, Peter Schiff's been doing it since the last collapse. Ron Paul has been calling it since the 70s.
Yeah.
So the issue with Austrians is that, you know, we're viewed as perma bears, that there's always going to be a recession, there's always going to be a collapse, and it's always around the corner. So I think it's personally a flaw in Austrians to try and predict when it will happen. So I don't try to predict. I just think it's bound to happen. And I think it's bound to happen soon because of the weakness after 2008. People are still suffering 12 years later from that.
Yeah.
So I don't think this next one is going to be the end of the regime. Maybe even not the one after that. But it is bound to happen, and it can't keep going much longer because they can keep playing games to drag it out. But you can only inflate the bubble so much until it finally does pop. And they've inflated it so big that it is inevitable that it is going to burst, and it's going to burst hard.
Put simply, the state is a leech that will keep on sucking, but as the saying goes, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah, so it's bound to burst. There is bound to be a collapse. So I do believe that, yes, there is, like... Wait, what's the original question?
I was just commenting on the statistics he used, but...
Yeah, you were just kind of talking.
How likely do we think a collapse is to happen?
Oh, yeah, very likely. Very likely. Be prepared.
Yeah. Do you think it's going to happen in our lifetimes?
I think so.
Well, this guy says there's about a 40% chance, so...
If not a revolution, I think a collapse. I think the collapse of the financial system is inevitable. I can't put a date on it, but it is inevitable.
Okay, Porter, so, here's my problem with the guy saying there's a 40% chance. You know, he might be right, and you guys might be right that the collapse will happen in our lifetime. I'm not denying that.
It's a small sample size. He admitted it in the article.
Okay, that. But here's my other problem is when you throw around stats like that tied to things that could happen like that, it's kind of fear mongering. It's kind of saying things that can or cannot happen just to push some idea you may have, like climate change. How many statistics and studies have we seen since the 70s about that stuff and nothing's happened?
Oh, you know what's right? It's actually a very good example. The world is going to end in 12 years, so be prepared for that.
We're all going to burn to death.
No. Some of us are going to retreat to underground
believe.
bunkers.
Yeah, like I'm not saying I don't believe in climate change, and I don't believe that a collapse won't happen. I'm just saying I don't find any safety in statistics with your claims to make.
Are you saying you do believe in climate change then?
I do believe I do believe in climate change, yes, but I don't believe in it. I don't believe it's as big as an issue as everyone makes it out to be.
I think we should save that for a different episode.
Yeah,
for
just
sure.
Just a quick thing on that topic. We are technically still in an ice age.
Yeah.
But anyway,
are we in the downslope?
No, we're in the tail end of the ice age.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, back on topic. Fuck climate change. That's a different topic. But
we're gonna have to get some leftists on here for that episode.
Anyways, Stratty, yeah, I agree. Like trying to use statistics for this, which is like one of my big gripes with statistics, is that you can get whatever results you want out of it if you do it the right way. So I don't put much stock and faith in statistics.
Okay, but probability isn't exactly the same way. Like, probability is more based in actual math than in lying about.
But I mean, here's the thing with probability, and here's the thing when you finish a statistics course. I always have trouble with that word. When you take a statistics course, you learn that probability has no actual bearing on reality. You can do it with a deck of cards. I mean, if you get a king and you shuffle the deck, according to probability, you're not supposed to really be able to get that king again for a long time. But reality does not care much for the probability. It's a 1 in 13 chance you get another king. 1 in 13, that's not a very high chance, but you could still get 10 kings in a row. And that doesn't hold up to probability. It's not likely, but it still happens.
Probability is a prediction. It's not like a law governing what has to happen. It's just saying what is most likely to happen.
Exactly why I don't put much faith in it.
Yeah.
Because probability, at the end of the day, is just a prescriptive measure that we put to our understanding of random factors in reality. And it does not necessarily hold up. So when somebody comes in with a probability of something happening, I am very skeptical of it.
You should not work for an insurance firm or an actuarial agency.
I was not planning on that anyway, so.
There are people who make whole livelihoods on probability, so.
Yeah, or there are people that make livelihoods
that quickly.
There are people that make livelihoods on Python, and I'm not doing that either, so. Fuck college. What a waste of my time.
Fun fact, though, before we go on to the next topic, I almost majored in statistics at one point because I wanted to do something with my love for sports statistics. I took one statistics class. Fuck that shit.
Okay, Nate Silver.
I don't know that.
He's a statistician. Fuck that word. He's a statistician who mostly works in predicting the outcome of sports games.
Okay.
He runs 538.com, I believe. So he also predicts elections. And I'm going back to probability. He's the one who predicted that Hillary Clinton had like a 98% chance of winning the election.
Exactly.
No, 538 had her at 78%. They were actually the lowest out of all the mainstream media outlets.
What the fuck's up with you knowing all these stats off the top of your head about shit? Like
we're autistic libertarians.
I saw it yesterday because people were talking about the Iowa thing on Twitter. That's the only reason I know that.
That's fair, but you know what? I can't talk shit because I can rat off some random statistics about guys y'all never even heard about. So
I can't do statistics. I mostly do history.
Yeah, I can tie them together in sports history.
No, okay. Another autistic libertarian thing. I'm not that much into sports. I care about soccer, and that's about it. Oh, fuck off. Soccer's better than football.
That's not true.
It's not true at all.
He just said better, and then he couldn't name a sport.
But I said soccer is better than football.
It's not. It's awful and un-American.
You finally got Monty to speak up.
American football does not involve your feet, really, except for running.
Crazy that the 4th episode is the episode we find out that Jay's a Marxist.
5th episode.
This is the 5th episode.
Okay, I've been out that long. Damn, all right.
Yeah, you missed 2 episodes. We recorded 2 in the same night. And they
Oh,
are
yeah, that's right,
drastically
that's right.
different in quality.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna listen to 3.
No, it's worth listening to.
It is. I was
Okay,
editing the
okay.
first part. It's pretty good
Okay.
for the most part. But anyway, soccer is better. Okay, it is better. The fans are better. I mean, is there ever a riot? Is there ever a riot after an American football game?
Yes.
Oh yeah, when?
Fucking look. Have you ever
Anytime the Eagles win?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
anytime
gonna
the
say.
Eagles win.
The
Anytime
Philadelphia is not
fucking a
real.
Texas team wins.
Philadelphia is not real. Have you ever seen Bill Burr roasting Philadelphia for like 10
All right,
minutes?
you know what? Listen. Hey, I'll find some sports. I'll find some good sports libertarian guy to bring on here as a guest, and we'll talk that shit whenever we get that fucker in here.
All right, listen. All I'm gonna say is that soccer players do not stop every 5 fucking seconds because somebody dropped the ball. Okay?
They do not drop it. They get
it
fucking hit by another 300-pound.
Whatever.
All they do is
players-
jog around from one side to another. That's not fun to
Exactly.
watch.
Have you
I
tried
would
jogging over a
love-
giant field like that all day?
I'm not talking about how-
I would love to see a soccer player get hit by a 6'7", 250-pound dude going 25 miles per hour on his pure fucking strength of his legs. I would love to see a soccer player take that hit.
And I'd love to see Conor McGregor get hit by Andre the Giant. Okay.
Yeah, but they're fighters.
I wouldn't really
Soccer
call
players
Andre
are
the
just
Giant a
pussies.
fighter.
Okay, now that we've gotten past that, we can save that for a different episode. The next thing we wanted to talk about was San Francisco, and
Oh my god.
I have some ideas on how we can connect this back to collapsitarianism in a little while.
I'm gonna
What,
try.
do you mean that San
but after
Francisco deserves a
talking about-
fucking collapse?
Yeah, I mean, after
We'll
talking
get
about
there, we'll get there.
collapsitarianism, like, I don't even know how I could tie that together. Like, San Francisco's too fucked up for me, man.
San Francisco is beyond help. They need a collapse. There should be a boogaloo in San Francisco.
Yeah, boogaloo for only San Francisco.
Only San Francisco. You are not allowed to boogaloo in there if you're not from San Francisco.
Do you want to boogaloo so all the homeless people kill each other off?
We're not getting into that one again.
No, we are
We're not
dredging up
derailing like
episode
that.
3 again.
No, you're the one that said the controversial stuff.
Yes, and then I immediately backtracked and talked about like how we're not getting into this. We're not getting into the homeless topic again. I mean, we sort of have to when you discuss San Francisco. We're doing it seriously this time.
Why do you hate them?
Oh my fucking God. Monty, I explained it in another episode.
If it makes you feel better, Monty, I don't hate them, and we're both Jewish, so it kind of evens out. Or cancels out
Kinda.
even.
It's a net
There's
zero.
math. That's statistics, right?
There's a little macroeconomics here. San Francisco. Where the fuck do you start with San Francisco? How does a city get so absolutely fucked that you are likely to step in human shit and an AIDS needle in the same day?
Okay, well, I can give you the answer in one word, and it's something that we're going to talk about in probably countless episodes, but it's bureaucracy.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh,
But
we've
I
got
mean,
good episodes
every
planned
place
with that.
every place has bureaucracy, but how did
But-
San Francisco get to such a point where it's like
Okay, I'm not saying this example of bureaucracy is what caused the collapse of San Francisco, but this is just an example of how bad bureaucracy is in San Francisco.
oh, of course.
Kamala Harris was fucking Willie Brown, who was the mayor of San Francisco at the time, and he was married to another woman. Well, I think he got caught or something. They got exposed or whatever. But she ends up being
Yeah, she was
the
blowing him for
Attorney General.
promotions.
Yeah, she ended up being the Attorney General of San Francisco. Now, there's some fucking bureaucracy.
Yeah, San Francisco has always been bad, but I mean, that's your standard corruption. I mean, how many people do you think got their job because they blew the city commissioner or something? Probably high. But I mean, we're talking.
You know, like you
to a
just put
point.
that thought into my head, and I don't even. It's not high.
I think it's pretty high. But
Yeah.
anyway, I don't know, man. You know, the Oval Office, 1990s.
Yeah.
Some cigars they don't want to smoke anymore. How much do you think those cigars would sell for?
Oh, dude.
Stop.
You know,
No.
literally, like, okay,
No.
so like auction. All right, I'm imagining, like, I'm trying to think of other famous things that have sold for a high dollar. They got to go for
Fish-
$1 million at least.
Fish flavored cigars.
Got to go $1 million at least.
I would
Could you
not pay
imagine?
that much for.
Could you imagine if you saw that shit in the Smithsonian?
Listen, dude. If you told me it was a cigar that went up Scarlett Johansson, I would say yes. But Monica Lewinsky? No. Like, let's be real. Anyway, San Francisco.
Oh, but
Jesus fucking Christ.
I love how Jay's like, hey, I'm a sleazy motherfucker, but I got standards.
Yes. I don't do cankles. But San Francisco. So recently there was an article. San Francisco. We're staying on topic relatively. There was an article where this is the store owner who's bringing in good money, but he is willing to sell his store at any given day because he had a woman who came in and OD'd in his bathroom. His metal door is corroded because of all the people who've urinated on it. He has people that are like coming in and stealing hundreds of dollars worth of products a day. It's like he can't keep up over there. And there's no helping. This is literally the place where on a motorcycle subreddit, a dude looked outside the window of his office, and he saw a homeless dude shitting on his motorcycle. On his motorcycle!
That's just disrespectful.
San Francisco.
Like I was telling
San Francisco, instead of dealing with like public urination shit, because they made it completely legal, they have walls that just splash your piss back at you.
Like designated for that?
Yep.
Yes, like they're designed by
by
engineers and architects to splash the piss back at you when you pee on them.
Man, even Karl Marx got to be rolling in his grave knowing that shit.
Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously the solution to this would be complete privatization. Because if somebody's pissing on your private property, then yeah, you get them escorted out of there. But we're not anywhere, even in a good state, are we anywhere close to total privatization. So how the fuck do you help San Francisco?
Well, you know, that's interesting that you say, well, obviously I agree that privatization is the answer. But it's funny because I actually was talking to Porter about this just right before the episode. There was a segment on Tucker Carlson one night where he talked about these private police that were operating in San Francisco at the time. And this was maybe a month or two ago. But these private police, they are hired by businesses to like get the homeless, the drug addicts, all of that just out of the streets so people will actually go into their businesses. But here's the thing, because of the federal government's laws, these private police aren't really allowed to do anything other than encourage the homeless, these drug addicts, these prostitutes. All they can do is encourage them to please leave the sidewalk. And granted, some of them are, you know, a lot of them actually were pretty cool and cleared the way. And the private police were cool with them. They came back at closing time and fell asleep where they were the morning. But it's just like, it's not only, it is sad that that's the problem, but it just shows that government is in the way of allowing these private solutions to happen.
Oh, of course.
And government's quote unquote, and government's quote unquote solutions, they are again, you're going to laugh and say you don't say, but government solutions are not solutions at all. They're inefficient.
The government doesn't do good. Jeez.
And government bad. But San Francisco is just the perfect example of that. If you want to talk, I mean, there's of course there's many examples throughout America, but that is probably the number one right now that comes to mind.
Yeah, because San Francisco is the absolute worst. It's a bureaucratic hellhole. You can't do anything about any of these issues. And I mean, I'm just left wondering, like, what would be the mediary solution between what we have now over there and full privatization? Because, like, should a libertarian support, you know, public defecation? I don't know.
I'll tell you this. If you came and took a piss on my private property, say in a corner that no one really went in, I wouldn't care.
No.
But I could see why someone would. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you know, when you're at a point where you are walking down the sidewalk and you are stepping in human feces, I'm just like, what is the answer to this?
Oh, that's why I said if I had private property in a corner, maybe I wouldn't care. I'm just saying, like, this shows like how ridiculous the idea of public property is. Like, it's not even illegal for them to do that now. Ah, my gosh.
Yeah.
So now, in San Francisco, I promise you, there's people in San Francisco that are making the same cries that They need to take away the guns for their safety. They need to do this for
It's
their
California.
safety.
What guns?
Yeah. They need to do this for their health. They need to do this for sanitary reasons. Okay, but y'all are cool with homeless people doing heroin and shitting on the streets?
Yeah. Because, I mean, we don't support the drug war either. But when you have people, like, literally shooting up heroin in the streets and dumping their needles there.
And their shit.
What do you do about this? Are the police allowed to escort people off the street?
Yeah, and that is a hell of a health hazard. Imagine if someone has AIDS and they use one of those needles.
Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, they're picking up 300 needles a day at least. You have teams of people scooping shit off the sidewalk in a first world country. And I'm just baffled what to do.
This is a perfect illustration, I think. I don't have a solution, by the way, so this isn't going to be too helpful. But it's a good illustration, I think, of kind of the fallacy of the consent of the governed thing. Yeah. Because no one will let these people do it on their actual property, like on their personal property. No one wants that, like, on something they actually own. But then, as soon as the property becomes publicly owned, which is, of course, an oxymoron, but as soon as it becomes the sole property of the city, then you have all these progressives saying it's like racist or something to ban public shitting, and I really don't know what the solution to that or what the libertarian answer is. Short of obviously the end goal.
First, they have to be libertarian. That's the solution. Is
what? Yeah, of course,
sorry?
But
like we can't just. I don't even want to just march in there and force it because it won't.
No, but
successful.
let's say this was happening in our city, and this was a concern for us. What would be the libertarian answer? Because let's draw a corollary to New York in the 90s, where you could not go into a public park because you would get jumped. There were drug deals going on. There were homeless people whacking it in the park, and their solution was to send more patrols that didn't do anything instead of I guess instead of arresting people for the crimes that are already going on,
or maybe have a curfew or something that just punishes.
Well, that's what they did.
Yeah,
that's what they did, and it didn't solve the problem because they just weren't. They already were not arresting people for the crimes that were on the books in those parks.
Right. So I guess that's the deeper point: is there can't be a state solution to state-caused problems.
No, I mean,
well, I think the strategy, the solution would be the same as anywhere. We just move from. Like, what would be the solution in any other city? Like, take the most libertarian system.
I don't want San Franciscans moving to my city because they're going to ruin everything.
They're going to shit on everything.
Those like intermediary institutions, like the private police and things like that, where the state fails, you have to come up with ways to compensate for that in private, voluntary sectors. That's kind of the only way, and it's frustrating because it's never like a full solution. You're not just getting rid of the state overnight, but it's obviously not going to come from the top down. So that's probably the best way to do it.
Well, I think Rothbard says you're allowed one deviation, and I think we brought this up before. I think I would have to say my one deviation is using the sidewalk as a toilet.
No, I think as long as it's publicly owned, you can have some basic, because that's a health problem with the PC. Like you can have some basic standards for it.
Yeah, and I mean you can't go into a public school and just shit on the floor over there.
Yeah, I mean we can be reasonable about it, but
real quick, where does he mention that you're allowed one standard deviation? I mean, but I've never actually read it in text.
When you are someone as prolific as Rothbard, I think it's pretty hard to pinpoint it. I would have to look it up and tell you exactly. I'm not sure.
So here's the moment we find out Jay just makes shit up off the top of his head and doesn't actually read.
Okay,
but no, I'm fucking with you, Jay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lying About What Rothbard Said podcast.
Rothbard said we have to kill the Jews, so I agree with him.
Actually, guys, Rothbard is the one that said seize the means of production, not Karl Marx. You guys have been getting it wrong for so long.
Listen, guys, Rothbard said might makes right. Okay? Rothbard said the strong must dominate the weak.
Rothbard was a neocon.
Rothbard was everything. Rothbard is what you want him to be.
Rothbard is the one that said, "You're either with us or you're against us."
Rothbard said, "Fool me once, shame on
Shame
me.
on you.
Fool me twice, can't get fooled again."
You can't.
That's what that George Bush said that in a fucking speech.
No, it was Murray Rothbard.
Yeah, of course. What I'm saying.
George
Bush
copied
quoted Murray Rothbard. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, right. Or at least you got that right.
No, but you can blame Dave Smith for that one deviation thing, I believe. But yeah, my one deviation is just don't shit in the street. I mean, fucking come on. And if you're shitting on my car, I am like, can I shoot you for shitting on my car? Can I legally shoot you for shitting on my car? I don't know.
I think the NAP requires like reciprocal force, right? Proportionality.
Okay, so I gotta shit on him. Jesus.
Unless that's your one deviation, you just murder anybody who's shitting on your car.
I mean, how would you feel if you looked out your window and you saw somebody shitting on your car?
I mean, you can't exactly just go like grab him off. You don't want to get shit on you.
If I looked out my window and saw someone shitting out my car, I don't think my first reaction would be anger, actually. I think my first reaction would probably be fear and then confusion.
I think my first reaction would be, oh, so the collapse is happening now.
Oh, it's boogaloo time. Grab a rifle, shoot him.
On each other's cars.
Your Honor, I thought it was the boogaloo. Okay?
Clearly, society has flipped itself upside down. No rules apply anymore.
I think I would mostly be in shock if I saw somebody doing it, because who the fuck does that?
Well,
even if you're a homeless dude, it's like, why is your instinct to shit on something somebody owns?
Well, here I think we can wrap it kind of full circle, and that's to ask the question: what constitutes a collapse? Is San Francisco like in the middle of a slow rolling collapse right now? Because like surely that can't be considered a civilized society in any sense of the phrase anymore, right?
They pay taxes, so obviously they're a civilized society.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, well, they still have roads. So
let's be kind of realistic here, though. Is this the collapse for San Francisco? I don't know if I would say that, because I'm willing to bet there's been some cities that have been in some pretty similar conditions, and they've just gone back to more bureaucratic, more government measures.
That's a good point.
I'm not saying again, I'm not going to rule out collapse. I'm just saying, if anything, this could more realistically lead San Francisco actually to voting Republican, perhaps.
Don't get your hopes up.
I think you're going to be hard pressed to get that one. I would not put my bets on that.
I'm saying
the probability is very low.
I'm saying that's a more realistic thing than a collapse, in my opinion.
I mean, any Republicans they elect would just be like pseudo Democrats, basically, right?
Pretty much.
So, like, just Republicans in general.
They're still going to support rent control. They're still going to support all the regulations.
You're just explaining politicians in general. All I'm saying is the general populace will think, oh, we're going to vote for another party. There's our solution. Because the general populace is not comfortable with the thought of everything just collapsing.
Listen, I think in San Francisco, in that situation, like if they were to massively change their party, you would see them moving farther left, not to the Republican Party.
Sure, all I'm saying is that is a more realistic outcome than a collapse, because people are uncomfortable with the idea of collapse.
Yeah, I don't think San Francisco is in collapse. I think it just deserves a collapse.
I agree.
All right, Stratty. I think that's something to rant about.
All right, this is just going to be real quick, but I think all y'all, because everyone in here is anarchist, right?
No, actually, I'm an anarcho-syndicalist.
Oh.
We'll get on another episode. We'll get that on another episode.
Is Monty in?
We're all anarchists here.
All right, cool.
Speak for yourself.
Shut the fuck up.
And I'm sure all y'all are going to relate to this and understand it. Y'all not have that one friend or just person that knows you're interested in politics, philosophy, economics, and all that, yet they don't really grasp the fact that you're an anarchist no matter how many times they let you know. So they ask you questions like, what do you think about the impeachment? What do you think about this law? What do you think about this candidate? And pretty much every answer is the same all the time. It's like, well, dude, Like you're like, I can give you some thoughts, but ultimately my answer is I don't fucking care, and I don't like it, and it just gets fucking infuriating after a while. Like I'm trying to get my ideas across to people, and they tell me they see what I'm saying, but then they immediately contradict that by asking me what I think about this candidate, this law, this poll, you know. And it's, that's just so frustrating for me as an anarchist trying to talk to people around me that aren't, and you know, I'm not blaming them, I'm not mad at them, but just aren't very in tune with political philosophy and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's cool and all, but what do you think of the Iowa caucus?
It's just funny, dude. Like, I never really bought into those caucuses at all, ever. I never really bought into them because I've seen how rigged they are. Like in 2012, what the RNC did to Ron Paul, or what the DNC has done to Bernie Sanders in the last two
in
elections.
Iowa.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't even matter. You can win all the delegates in the Democratic Party. They have super delegates.
I'm just talking about caucuses in general, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's a decent chance Joe Biden's going to be the nominee.
Yeah, me too.
Probably.
But I'm not saying
caucuses
within like parties themselves. Like, I think the Liberty Caucus in the Republican Party, the Mises Caucus in the Libertarian Party, whatever caucuses they are in the Democratic Party, I think those are legit within themselves. I'm saying like the Iowa caucus,
for voting.
Yeah, those caucuses, I've never bought into them, so I don't think much about it. I think it's just kind of stupid. Again, Pete Buttplug has. He has ties to this Shadow Inc. People, and they are the ones that had the app.
That has to be a limited hangout. How the fuck does a company named Shadow Inc. make a voting app for a caucus that fucking gets Buttigieg to fucking nomination when he was like 40? Pete Butt stuff. When he gets to like 40 votes short, this has to be a limited hangout. They have to be fucking with us. This is out of a comic book.
It's Metal Gear Solid 2. And I'm not going to explain the plot to Metal Gear Solid 2. If y'all don't know what I'm talking about, go play the fucking game because it's great.
Yeah, good luck explaining a Kojima plot in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into it.
We'll have a whole episode explaining Kojima plots. No, we won't.
Libertarian. Is Kojima a libertarian?
No, dude, he's got too much of a military fetish. It's like Tom Clancy, but Japanese.
No, I'm just joking. I'm saying that would be a funny episode.
It's Kojima
dumb shit. Get into like analyze all his stories, like fucking.
No, best episode topic. Is Donald Trump the most libertarian president ever?
Oh, that would be a good way to like invite some dumbasses on this show and fuck with them.
No, it's a 1-minute episode. We all just say no and leave.
No.
Can we do that?
That would be very easy for me to edit.
Dude. Okay.
No cap, let's actually do that right after this.
Okay, yeah. Just go ahead and end the recording. Can we just plug our butt?
No.
What was your rant about?
That was a rant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, we're just dropping everything into the description now. Articles will be in the show notes links, and yep. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks for putting up with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somehow we made this one work.
See you next week.